Welcome back to a walk through the tarot. Today the Fool arrives at card 6, the Lovers. The scene looks like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, but he's learning the tarot images are not always what they might seem. He has to look below the surface. So far on his journey, the Fool has met the archetypes of the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress and Emperor, and the Hierophant. The Lover's card is his first encounter with an archetypal event. In the story, Adam and Eve disobeyed God's instructions. They ate from the tree of knowledge and were expelled from the garden as punishment. All actions have reactions, and the Lover's card is about choice and consequences. We're going to look at the background to the card, explore its symbols, and discover some of the messages the Lovers might have for the Fool. In the 15th century, the card was called Love, and designs from this time show a marriage between wealthy families. In Renaissance Italy, ideas about love were found mainly in books or songs. Weddings were business transactions. They prioritised wealth and land more than any romance. Early cards show the ancient Greek myth of Eros, son of the goddess Aphrodite. His arrows caused people to fall in love. The Romans renamed Eros as Cupid, and Roman writer Ovid claimed the arrows were tipped with gold or lead, one for passion and one for indifference or hate, giving Cupid a much darker aspect. During Renaissance times, he was often shown wearing a blindfold, signifying the random nature of love. As tarot moved across Europe, the card showed a man unable to decide between two women. Cupid still appeared, but the focus was more about personal choice. The French occultists were responsible for tarot's shift from a card game to a coded tool for enlightenment. For card 6, they turned to the ancient Greek myth of Hercules. Forced to choose a life of virtue or of vice, the hero chose virtue and was tasked with 12 labours. The virtue path led to honour and immortality, whereas vice could only end in emptiness. And the story disguised the occultist choice between choosing an easy material path through life or the harder, more spiritual one. Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith introduced Adam and Eve. Waite belonged to the esoteric order of the Golden Dawn, but was also interested in Christian mysticism, which emphasised personal experience of God through spiritual practice. The card has multiple layers of meaning. There's the attraction and balance of opposites, such as male and female, alongside the duality of conscious and unconscious awareness, as shown by the humans and the angel. The card also shows the state of perfection before original sin, the loss of which represents the human need to find and return to a sense of divine connection. The card has travelled a long way from the image of marriage in Renaissance Italy. So let's take a look at the symbols on this card. The presence of Adam and Eve suggests love, but their nakedness shows a state of innocence and purity. In a direct relationship with God, they live in heavenly perfection. Behind Eve is the tree of knowledge, with its mysterious fruit and coiled serpent, and similar stories of temptation and expulsion go back to ancient Mesopotamia, as does the existence of the tree of life behind Adam, which represents eternity. There's many explanations for the 12 flames on the tree. In the Bible's book of Revelation, the 12 gates of New Jerusalem were guarded by 12 angels, and the tree of life that grows there had 12 kinds of fruit, one for each month of the year. Some say the leaves represent the 12 signs of the zodiac, while others see them as the 12 chakra points whose physical alignment connects to the higher self. The Fool has come across these multiple possibilities with other cards. He's learning it matters less where the images came from. The key is to look at what they represent in the present moment. The winged figure has flames in its hair like it's wearing the sun. There's always been a connection between fire and the sacred, while the radiant sun at the top of the card is a symbol of divine blessing, protection, and unconditional love. Some say the angel is God's cherubim, sent to guard the gates of Eden with a flaming sword after Adam and Eve were banished. Others suggest it's Raphael, the angel of healing, who is also the guardian of lovers. As well as symbolising a union of opposites as male and female, they represent the separation of source or creative energy into a body of flesh in the physical world. To be born is to be cut off from awareness of spirit, but we're given a lifetime to regain the lost knowledge and to find our way back to divinity. The mountain between them is a symbol of this challenge. It represents the harder path, one that requires effort and willpower, not giving in to temptation to go the easier way. Let's look at some of the messages the Lover's card might have for the Fool. The card represents the archetype of love. Our Fool can't interrogate it to ask questions. There's no opportunity to receive advice. He has to work this one out for himself. And he may have romantic ideas, but his number is 0. He's innocent, verging on naive. He doesn't know love arrives in different forms, hasn't experienced its adult power, and so far his heart remains unbroken. First love can represent the first steps towards an independent life. Separation from home, both emotionally and physically, and moving beyond the immediate influence of parents and families. The Fool may have to choose between staying with what is familiar or leaving his comfort zones to step out into the unknown. He's being reminded the easier choice, the lesser challenge, might not always be best. Nothing comes from nothing. We learn from mistakes, and they result from taking risks. The Fool can remain in the external world shown by the magician, empress and emperor, or he can manipulate the magician's creative energy to follow the high priestess and the hierophant, and he can choose the search for inner but higher connections. Ideally, he'll find a balance between them. All that lies in the future. For the moment, he's still learning about card 6, and like the other cards, it contains opposing messages. Love can be cruel. One half of a couple might leave, destroying the relationship and all that was built together, so love brings grief when it's lost. The Fool needs to remember everything in the external world can be taken away from him, whereas what he believes is more likely to remain intact. Love can be difficult. The fortunate child is brought up with unconditional love, giving them inner confidence, but the unloved child, with a lack of self-worth, might slip into obsession or codependency. The mistake of finding yourself through a different person risks being left with nothing. The Fool will fall in love, and likely as not he will have his heart broken. It's rare to go through life without experiencing the highs and lows of relationships, but he needs to learn to love himself before he can authentically love another. Directing love inwards and having a healthy sense of self-worth will also give him strength to cope with more difficult times, be these in relationships or his search for a different kind of knowledge. The Fool has much still to learn. This row has been taking him through his conscious awareness, showing him how his external world is structured. There's much he's recognised, but also much that is new, and there's only one more step on this line. The next card the Fool will meet is number 7, the Chariot. The driver looks like the epitome of success, but he's stuck. His chariot is going nowhere. Something is missing, so join us as we discover more about this card during the next step on the walk through the tarot.